Have you ever really thought about where your tax money goes? I mean, really goes. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on something huge, Meghalaya's state debt. We're going to find out who the state owes all this money to, and maybe more importantly, what that means for your future. So, let's dive in.
Okay, so think about it like this. Every single time you pay your taxes, a part of that money isn't actually going to build a new road or a school, at least not right away. A slice of it is already spoken for. It's been promised to someone else to pay back a loan. The big question, the one we're tackling today, is who are these lenders?
Yeah, this quote right here just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? We hear these big terms like government borrowing all the time, but the nitty-gritty details, they're usually buried deep inside some super complicated report that almost nobody reads. Well, today, we're digging them up. We're going to put some names and faces to these mysterious lenders. All right, so to really follow the money trail, we've got to learn the lingo first. So in this first section, let's break down the basics of how government debt actually works.
Okay, everything really kicks off with this term, the gross fiscal deficit. Sounds complicated, right? But it's actually pretty simple. It's just the gap between what the government spends and what it brings in through income. You know, when spending is higher than earning. And just like you or me, if you spend more than you make, you got to borrow to cover the difference. That's the shortfall.
Now, this is absolutely crucial to get. Not all money flowing into the state is created equal. On one hand, you have central transfers. You can think of these as a form of aid, political, maybe redistributive. But on the other hand, you have institutional loans. And these are strictly business. They are unforgiving. They have to be paid back with interest, right on time, no matter what. No excuses. Okay, so now we know why the state borrows. The next logical question is, who exactly is it borrowing from? It's time to unmask these lenders, the ones who hold a claim on Meghalaya's future. So this chart gives us a pretty clear picture of how the state is plugging that spending gap. You can see a big chunk comes from something called market borrowings. You can think of this as the state basically selling IOUs or bonds to investors. And then there's another major slice from institutional lenders, with a big one being NABARD. That's the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. And wow, when you lay it all out like this, you really start to see how complicated this web of creditors is. It's not like the state just goes to one big bank for a loan. Oh no. You've got NABARD, which is a major player. Then you have specialized financiers for the power sector, like REC and PFC. You've got regular commercial banks. And don't forget all the individual bondholders from those market loans we just talked about. It is a really tangled web of obligations. So here's a good way to think about it. It's not like having one single loan from one bank. It's more like having a wallet absolutely stuffed with credit cards from a dozen different companies. Each one has a totally different interest rate, a different due date, and its own sneaky fine print with penalties. Trying to manage all of that? Well, it's a massive and often invisible challenge for the state. All right, so we've established there's this super complex web of lenders, all with their own strict rules. But let's be real. Why should you care about all this? What does it actually mean for your day-to-day life? Well, in this next part, we're going to connect the dots and see how all this financial jargon has very real consequences for every single person. Just take a look at this number for a second. Over 1,345 crore rupees. And get this, that's not the total debt of the state, not even close. That is the size of just one single loan that was taken out to bail out the state's power company, MEAC. It just gives you a sense of the absolutely staggering scale we're talking about here. And this chart, this really shows you the true cost of all that borrowing. See how the payments are going up over time? As the total debt gets bigger, the slice of the state budget that's just for paying off the interest gets bigger and bigger too. And you have to remember, every single rupee spent on interest is a rupee that can't be spent on schools, on roads, or on healthcare. It's gone. In a very real way, our future is literally being mortgaged. Now, this next point is maybe the most important one of all. These loans, they almost always come with strings attached. In the finance world, they call them conditionalities or covenants. What does that mean? It means the lenders can demand certain things happen. They can insist on the state raising electricity prices. They can push for public services to be privatized. They can even have a say in who gets government contracts. Basically, these conditions can shape huge policy decisions for the state, all happening behind closed doors. Okay, I know this can all sound a little bit doom and gloom, maybe even overwhelming, but hang on, because this story doesn't end here. This last section is all about you. It's about how you can stop being just a spectator and actually become a citizen investigator.
So here it is, your 3-step mission, should you choose to accept it. Step 1, use the Right to Information Act, your right, to ask the government for the complete list of who they owe money to. Step 2, take that information and map out the repayment calendar, how much is owed and when. And step 3, the big one. Uncover those hidden conditions we talked about. Find out what strings are attached to these loans, and then start a public conversation about them. You know, is a loan really worth it if it locks us into higher electricity bills for the next 10 years? That's the kind of question we should all be asking.
And so we're going to leave you with this final thought. Our future isn't just being shaped by who we vote for every few years. It's being shaped right now by these loan agreements and their hidden conditions that most of us never, ever get to see. Dragging them out into the light, that's the very first step to taking back some control. So the real question is, what will you discover?